Before we start, give me a few seconds to advertise my printable products on Etsy shop. Your people like school art, a symbol of the death and a celebration of life. Check out my Etsy shop below the description. In there, you can find other amazing products. Hey yo, what's up guys? This video is for the reaction videos. This React tutorial for the beginner. In this video, I just keep everything simple, just creating a drop-down menu. If you're the beginner who's learned React, this video is for you. You will learn some basic HTML, CSS, and of course, React. In React, we have some fundamental concepts such as component and composition hook. But before we get started, I'd just like to say this video may be moved at a very fast pace, so you can pause the video or slow down the playback speed. If you're new here, make sure you like and subscribe my channel so you don't miss any of my video in the futures. Now let's get started. Before we get started, we actually need to download Node.js, so you can check out nodejs.org and download this recommended for most users. Then you can open up the command line in VS Code and run npx create react app. It's a package that kind of sets everything up for us, the whole environment to start writing React code.
A few moments later.
Now we can run npm start and it's just gonna open up a live development server so you can see how our React code works. In the web page here, we have a React logo and some text. In app.js, you will see a function whose name starts with a capital letter. You can think of that as a component. It looks like a normal function, except right here, different from JavaScript, is we can return a div. And you maybe get confused a little bit, but don't worry. I'm gonna add act1 hello react, and we have a component, we export it, and then our index.js we import react and react DOM. Okay, now right here we have something that looks so strange. .create root. That's because react DOM.render is no longer supported in React 18. We use create root for the supply container and return the root. The root can be used to render a React element into the DOM with root.render and put your element right here. But render where, there's another folder in the root directory of your React project named public. In this folder, there's an index.html file. You can see we don't have anything in our body here, but we have this div id root, so everything gets generated inside one div. And now, if we take a look here, it's gonna say hello react. We successfully rendered this function. Alright, but what's going on here? Because we usually would not be able to use div inside a function. In fact, it's JSX. JSX is not actually HTML, but a syntax extension for JavaScript that allows you to write HTML in your components. But before we continue to create our component, let's open up the index.css file. I'm gonna define some global CSS variables as our theme. I also do the same thing for the index list and the link element. So we finished the initial setup. Now we're ready to start building the drop-down menu. Inside the app component, I add a new div with a class name menu container. Notice that this is different from the regular HTML, which is normally just class. Inside of here, I have another div with a class name menu trigger, where whenever I click on it, it will show a drop-down menu. I put my portrait image right here. Now I'm gonna open up the CSS and apply some style to the image. I want it to be shown in the circle at the top right corner. So these are all I need. Alright, come back to app.js, I will create a drop-down menu. So we have a div with class name drop-down menu. Inside of it, I have some text like the username and the career. Continue to add the unauthorized list tag with drop-down inside of it. Wait, what is drop-down item component? Especially functional components make it really easy to break your application down to a lot of small reusable pieces. So right here, I will define new component named dropdown item and it returns JSX inside these parentheses. We go ahead and add an HTML LI. Inside of it, I have an image tag for the logo and a link tag to redirect. And now the questions become, how do we add multiple drop-down items inside the UL tag? Well, we just simply multiple drop-down item here. But I want to each drop-down item to show different information. Meanwhile, we just have one template right here. In React, components can pass data and UI element to each other using props. Add props as an argument to your function, and then you can reference it in your template. But before we continue, you can find my icons in the source code on my GitHub. They live in the icons folder, and then you can use these icons by importing a statement to the top of the file that references the path to your icon. You import the React component and then name it whatever you want, and you can do the same thing for all the other icons. Okay, suppose I want the first drop-down item show the user icon and the text my profile. I just simply pass them in the parentheses. So your browser now shows the exactly icon and the text you want. Then we'll focus on the CSS for making it look good. I use border top to create subtle lines that make boundaries between each drop-down item. As the drop-down item is hovering over, we might want to change the color slightly. We'll target the hover on the icon and the text. To make this color change smoothly, I will add the transition, where I put the speed variable as 0.5 seconds. Okay, we go back to our drop-down menu. I want to add another drop-down item, and because we already have drop-down item component with two props here, so we can easily multiple drop-down item with any information you want. Now to open and close a drop-down menu, I will need to have some stay, active, and inactive. In React, we can manage stay using hook called useStay. So first I need to import it from React. In app components, we call the useStay function with two values inside the bracket, the current state and a function that's update state. We can also set the default values as an argument in the useStay fonts because I want the drop-down menu is closed at first. But now I'm the user who want to click on the image to show and hide drop-down menu. To do that, I will add an on-click event handler in the menu trigger div. When the user click on that, the set open functions that's regard for useStay will flip the open value to the opposite of whatever it currently is. It's useful for toggling things. In our case, I want to show the drop-down menu when the open state is set to true and hide the drop-down menu when the open state is set to false. So we add active or inactive in the drop-down menu class name depending on the open state. Next, going to index.css, I just simply make drop-down menu, active state opacity 1, and inactive state opacity 0. I will add transform translate y and a transition 0.5 seconds to make it look more smooth. Okay, that's look good. However, there's still one problem. The menu cannot be closed without clicking the trigger button again, which is not a great user experience. It would be much better if the menu would close when you click the trigger or click anywhere else beside the menu. But this video is too long, so I will show you how to deal with it in the next video. If you like this, please hit the subscribe button and give me a thumb up. Hope you have a nice day and bye for now.